Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here in Healing Momentum in our live stream. My name is Michael, and I'm an author and a life coach. And what I do with people is teach them the skill of mirroring practice. Mirroring practice being a transformative system of mindful sending and mindful receiving that allows us to move our emotional energy up the scale, to be aware of our thinking in a way that's transformative. It lets us to create who we really are, both in the moment and in the longer river of our lives, the flow of our lives. It's very healing and allows us to transform our relationships and especially move out of emotional reactivity. It allows us to be in our honest, real, authentic feelings and moving away from betraying patterns that hurt us and hurt our partners. So welcome everybody. And today in this live stream, I'm going to focus on you, meaning the people that I work with a lot in terms of ongoing transformative coaching are people who have chronic mood issues. You're talking about things that may be diagnosable, say bipolar disorder. I myself suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. I work with a lot of people with adult ADHD. Schizophrenia, people in addiction recovery, people suffering from depression, anxiety, all kinds of things that many of us are experiencing. You know, the mood disorders or chronic mood issues is not something that is just, oh, did you hear about, Harry down the block? He's dealing with depression. Many of us are dealing with chronic mood issues. So I found that mirroring is an amazing way for us to have a practice, medication-free, that allows us to collaboratively interact with someone else, in this case with me as your collaborator and coach right now for this live stream. And certainly with if you look at all the other videos on the channel, you'll find lots of opportunities to practice mirroring, and not just the practice, the engaged practice, but the principles behind the practice, the understanding of how do I communicate to the person in front of me without going into emotional reactivity? How do I receive? How do I become someone who is active and connected, but is able to allow my partner being whoever's in front of me, to be fully in their energy, to not disrupt them, to feel like I'm giving them the opportunity to feel seen, to feel heard, and to be in their own skin without disrupting, adding my 2 cents, and creating negativity. So let's get focused on the topic: chronic negative mood disorders. Chronic negative mood issues. Okay, so dealing with things, say, like depression, negative self-concept, having trouble getting out of bed, things that are so intense, and it's hard for other people to understand what's really going on with us, and it's hard for us to understand what's really going on with us. So let's go right into some mirroring practice, just to engage with the practice and see where that takes us. So here's how it works. What I want you to do is mirror. I'm going to offer statements, affirmations. You could take them or you can leave them. As always, my teacher likes to say, at the risk of being wrong. So at the risk of being wrong, I'm going to offer you these statements. And what I want you to do is simply mirror them back, meaning speak them back to me, to the screen, as if we're engaging in this partnership right now. And accept them as if they're your own. I'm just feeding you the lines and asking you to, take the lines. Like, see, okay, let Michael do the heavy lifting for me. Let Michael give me the lines, and I will just speak them back out loud. in a way where I'm in receiving mode. I'm the sender, you're the receiver. Again, all of these things are there so that you can engage in this practice as if it's a martial arts practice, or as if I'm giving you Reiki, but instead of hands-on healing, we're using thinking and communication to create an energy exchange. So just mirror them back out loud. This means mirror that back, and let's see where that takes us. Okay, so let's begin. Michael is my collaborator. Mirror that back. And his intention is to be helpful to me right now. He works with a lot of people who have chronic mood issues. He knows how much people suffer because of these mood issues. He doesn't know exactly what I'm going through right now, but he has a sense of the silent suffering that I go through. It may be hard for me to leave bed in the morning. It may be hard for me to even leave the house. I may get stuck in my interactions with the partners in my life. People may not know what I'm going through while they're talking with me. It can feel like I'm going through this all alone, and nobody really understands what's happening with me. Michael has respect for me being here right now. Michael has respect for everything that I'm going through. He hopes this collaboration will bring me some relief. He hopes this collaboration will connect me to authentic feelings within. Excellent work. Good start so far. Now, how was that for you? Wherever you're watching, I encourage you to interact. You could leave a comment. You could connect with me. You may already know that I do this as a coach. If you're already curious, you could try an intro session with me on Zoom, and you'll see the link in the description. I'll tell you more about that later. So boom, that was an example of some basic mirroring where I'm offering you affirmations and you're mirroring them back out loud. I'm the sender, you're the receiver. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible so that you can engage, that we don't trip each other out with anything too confusing. So I'm hoping that you can see that simply focusing on my words, mirroring my words back, even though they're about you or even though they're about the connection that I'm trying to make with you. I'm the sender, I'm offering these words. So you have to separate anything that's going on in your mind. You have to go into receiving mode, meaning you're focusing on the words of the partner in front of you. Again, when I say partner, I mean not just a romantic love partner. We're partners in this healing collaboration right now. A client can be a partner. Your child can be a partner. Partner is a way of just saying the person in front of me. And we certainly want to be aware of the difficult people in our lives, the partners that we have in our lives that bring us into difficult feelings, into rage, feelings of frustration and intolerance. Those are the big ones. And I encourage you to keep learning with me because we can gain some mastery over those relationships in our lives. But the thing to focus on right now is like, hey, what was it like to simply set aside any other thoughts? Set aside, oh, this is what I have to say. Set aside your need to add something and just yield, allow these affirmations to come to you and for you to focus on them and then bring them from your mind out through your mouth into expression. So it's as if you can sense that the sender is offering something. And instead of you coming back to the sender and going, oh, me too, or this is what I have to say, by mirroring my words, you're actually going in the same direction of my words by saying them out loud. Now, that's of benefit to me. It's wonderful to know that people are listening. It's wonderful to know that I'm being heard and my stuff is important and I'm trying to heal and you're respectfully engaging with me. But what's even more important is that you're focusing on receiving mode, that you're able to be in the moment with whatever feelings that you have right now, whatever chronic mood that you may be going through, and that your mind, you don't lose your mind, that you have something to focus on. And in this case, by focusing on my words and my words with the intention of being of relief to you, of helping you to move your emotions up the scale, that there's no confusion, there's no hecticness, that things calm down into a singular focus. What did Michael just say? Let me mirror that back. That focus in itself allows the sympathetic nervous system to calm somewhat. You don't have to come up with anything. You don't have to deal with any kind of negative resistance on the inside. You could simply let yourself know, okay, I'm focusing on the words of my partner. I don't have to worry. I don't have to fear. All I have to do is mirror back these words. Now, you're doing this as an exercise with me, and there's lots to learn from the exercise. But can you imagine what receiving mode will give you when you're dealing with difficult people and they don't know what you have going on and you may be fritzy and confused and maybe you have ADHD and you're all over the place and you don't know what to say? But simply by saying, let me make sure I heard what you just said, going into receiving mode and mirroring back. So what you said was this, that, and the other thing. Did I get that? Do you feel like I'm hearing you? That is a huge, huge step, a huge practice to begin to incorporate into your daily life and your communication. Did I get that? Am I hearing you? I heard that you said, let me just check for understanding. I heard you said this, this, and that. Did I get all of that? Is there more that you wanted to say? This is tremendous. What this does to help you with your mood, again, lets you not have to focus on all the difficulty, the darkness, and the negativity in your mind. It helps your partner feel seen. It helps your partner feel like, wow, you're really getting me. And that interaction then moves the collaborative energy up the scale. So simply by being a receiver and going, I want to make sure I'm getting you right. I want to use your words, not against you. Use your words so that you feel heard, will soothe the energy of interactions. And when you see your partner going, yes, you got me, that's going to give you a leap. That's going to give you a bump up the scale. You're going to feel like you're being of service. You're going to feel like you focused. You're going to feel like you gave a gift. And that is a very healing thing on its own. Terrific. So now let's go a little bit further. And now let's look at, what's happening below the surface. Now, I'm not here to diagnose you, and I'm not here to say, okay, you're going to be free of these issues forever. But I am here to say that we can develop patterns, skills, and practices that continually move us up the scale. But that practice can be intense. I try to make it as simple as possible, but it can be intense because what's happening is we're sensing the feelings below the surface, the hurt that exists within us that is present and may even be leading us to having these issues mentally, that the body, maybe we went through trauma, maybe, we've gone through a difficult breakup, maybe we've been abandoned, all kinds of things may have happened to us. And stress, negative feelings, those are the kind of things that will lead to negative thoughts. And if those thoughts gain momentum meaning there's a force to them, that the repetition or the learning of them again and again and again, maybe all the way since childhood, maybe because we've had to cope to survive with difficult parents, these thought patterns that we have gain a sense of momentum. And that means that thinking is going downhill, meaning not downhill into negativity necessarily, downhill meaning the force cannot be stopped. It's picked up steam. I've been coping since childhood. This is the self-image that I've created for myself. Here I am dealing with it again and again and again and again. So my thinking mind developed patterns that made the feeling mind feel certain negativity, that is used to it, is used to this dialogue between thinking and feeling. And now that negativity has a force and is going downhill and can't be stopped. Okay. Well, what do we want to do? We want to gain awareness. We want to become aware. We want to simply notice that negativity. I'm a writer. I'm going to read a little bit from my book in a little while. This is the book that I published called The Zen of Solo Travel, A Journey from Anxiety to Enlightenment. You'll see it's marked off. I'm going to read a little piece from it later. And I love writers. One of my favorite writers is Henry Miller, who wrote the books Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, books that were banned when they came out. He was an amazing person who lived in Brooklyn, New York, with a lot of stressful conditions, hating his work. And he decided to leave everything behind and go live in France, basically as a bum. But he found his way to live with other artists and connect to beautiful alternative culture, and developed his writing to the point where he came out with numerous books that were banned in America and then eventually came out and were somewhat controversial and now are part of the curriculum of reading 20th century authors. Now, Henry Miller left his work, left his wife, left all the things he knew, left all the things that were familiar to him that kept him alive, left the English language, had to pick up French along the way, living in France, and suffered tremendously. He wasn't just this I'm going to write and everything's so happy. He suffered tremendously. But one of these things that he said to himself is, I like my suffering. Why? Because my suffering is mine. Now, why do we want something like that? We don't want to have our suffering. Well, maybe we don't want to have our suffering. Maybe we want to take a pill and numb ourselves out, or go into coping mechanisms and self-betrayals and addictions and hurting other people and codependency, or going from relationship to relationship to try to heal this anger that's still inside. But maybe we can learn from that phrase. Maybe we can take that phrase and tell ourselves, okay, I do suffer, so let me own the suffering. Let me not only notice the suffering, but let me tell myself, this suffering is part of me. It's mine. So there must be purpose to it. It's part of me. There must be reasons for it. And maybe the suffering is moving me forward in a direction in my life. It's a different way of thinking of it. Let's try some mirroring to see if we can gain some understanding from this concept, and maybe it'll bring you some relief immediately, I would hope, or go back and watch the video again and again and practice more. So let's go back to some mirroring. Michael is my collaborator, and he is practicing mirroring with me. He knows that below the surface of my chronic mood issues, that I am feeling hurt. That I am feeling suffering. This is me noticing that hurt. This is me noticing that suffering. I don't have to fix my hurt. I can simply notice it. I can allow this hurt to be in my body. And I can tell myself, this is real. This hurt I have is inside of me. I've had it for a long time. And right now, I'm taking a moment to simply notice. Right now, I'm telling myself, you don't have to fix anything. Right now, I can tell myself, leave the suffering alone. Let the hurt just be there. I can allow myself to see that this hurt is mine. I can allow myself to see this hurt as part of my life. Excellent. Very, 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 very good. Appreciate you. Really, really good work so far. So again, what are you learning? What did you get from that? Did it help slow things down, perhaps? Did it help you become mindful and realize, okay, I don't have to scramble into fix-it mode. I could simply become more aware of it and allow that hurt just to be. I'm hoping that that is a doorway to some liberation. I'm hoping that you could see that the suffering that we have leads us perhaps leads us into moods that are a form of coping, but we don't even realize that. I'm hoping that you could notice the suffering and feel it and make sense of it. This is called validation. Validation is when you're making sense of someone or some condition. I could tell you for myself, I suffer with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I went through an incredibly traumatizing childhood. And so I get dysregulated. My body doesn't feel like it works right. In the morning, I wake up and that feeling that I learned back in middle school of threat, everything's scary. There's a threat at every angle. You have to surrender to this. You are going to be destroyed. Every moment, something bad is going to happen to you. Really, really bad, like being a soldier in a war. It really emotionally was like that. Sometimes physically, but mostly emotionally. So I'm able to notice, well, what's the feeling below the surface for me? And there's a number of feelings, certainly there's legitimate fear. There's, triggered into fears that I may have about health or finances or parenting. But there's also a sense of abandonment, a sense of I'm being left alone. I'm having to deal with these things as a child and also as a child living in me in an adult body, and I'm feeling abandoned. So I could tell myself this is me noticing that abandonment, just like we did before in the mirroring exercise. And I could also tell myself that abandonment is mine and it makes sense. I did go through these things as a child. I did have a father who became schizophrenic and eventually took his own life. I did feel abandoned by him. I was scared because of his condition. I was scared because of the ways that he talked to me. That fear was so intense, my mind didn't know what to do with it, and my body coped with it as a child. I did develop post-traumatic stress disorder. that condition stays with you for a long time. I am making sense to me. My hurt is making sense to me. Therefore, the hurt is so intense that the PTSD, it makes sense that I developed this as a coping mechanism. It makes sense that I struggled with things like addiction and codependency. All of these things make sense to me because of the hurt that I experienced as a child. That's validation. It's very, very important that we practice self-validation. We notice that the hurt is there. We notice the maybe difficult to feel but makes sense feeling, meaning below the surface of all this craziness is a feeling of abandonment or a feeling of fear or a feeling of grief. All of these things may be rage, things that we never fully expressed, and maybe we don't have that outlet to express. So we got to notice the feeling. And then once we notice the feeling, we want to work with ourselves and validate the feeling. Make sense of it. Why does it make sense that I have this? And it's going to be a chronic condition. But more practices, mirroring, focus on a partner's words. This is the deep feeling below the surface, and being able to validate that feeling so that the feeling makes sense and you make sense. All of these activities are practices that will move your emotionality up the scale. And if you practice this more and more and more, and I am here to help, then you are going to find that you're going to sustain elevated moods, more elevated states of being, and a more elevated self-image, where you're going to connect to what you're really made of, what one of my teachers calls your spiritual DNA, which is there for you and is accessible to you, but maybe you can't quite get it yet because of the intensity of the chronic moods and the negativity that you go through. So hopefully these practices give you a lift. I'm going to bring this down to a close. Before I close the whole video, I want to offer you some ideas. Again, one, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that you're getting these videos on a regular basis. These videos are designed to uplift your mood and awaken your mind, move you out of emotional reactivity into authenticity, clarity, your inner wisdom, and into a healing. Also, consider doing some work. And this is for people who want to do personal healing coaching with me, or for leaders who see emotional reactivity happening in their environment at work, in the people that report to them, see dynamics that are happening with their clients. Maybe their clients don't feel heard. Maybe you want to use mirroring to improve your sales and let people feel seen, feel more trust and more connection with you. Or in the sense of personal healing, where you keep doing the same thing again with different partners. You keep having the same relationship with new people. You're struggling with parents, even as an adult, where you feel overwhelmed or you feel overpowered by the conditions of your parents. Maybe you're dealing with stress and anxiety. Maybe you need to make a change. These are all the kinds of things that we deal with people that I work with on a coaching level. So I encourage you to go into the description section, click the link that takes you to my website, and fill out the form to do a intro session. At the time, the intro session is 30 minutes with me on Zoom. Right now, to give it to you as a little taste test, the offer is $30 for those 30 minutes. So it's a little bit of money to me, but also a sense of, okay, just step into the pool, into the kiddie pool, and spend a little bit of money and get a sense of what it's like to practice mirroring directly with me and give yourself that gift. So try an intro session. The link is in the description section. And another thing that you could do with me right now is get the book. And the book is called, again, The Zen of Solo Travel, A Journey from Anxiety to Enlightenment. When I was at a crisis moment myself in my adulthood, where I was married and we were getting ready to adopt a child, but inside I wasn't ready. And there was so much going through me. And there was so much about being raised by that schizophrenic father that I was like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to end this marriage. I don't know if I'm going to go through this and it's going to destroy my life. I have no idea what's going on with me. And I was rolling with it. But I said, hey, hold on. And I took a trip to Japan and said, let me go away, leave everything behind, and let me reconnect to another part of the world and find myself so I'll know the answers. And in the back of the book, it says, adopt a baby or get divorced. Either decision would force Michael Jason Sherman into a world of trouble. In this case, I not only adopted a baby and got divorced, I adopted two babies and got divorced. And it happens to be their birthday today. They both share the same birthday. I'm going to go wish them well today. But for now, I'll read you a little piece from the book. The book is filled with my journey of awakening in Japan, but every chapter has an introduction that deals with what it means to be a solo traveler in this life, whether that means going somewhere by yourself to have an awakening, or whether that means the solo journey that we all take emotionally that nobody else can take for us. So let me read you a couple of paragraphs. Like life, baseball is filled with blunders, mistakes, flaws, and failures. Yet even after another miserable losing season, passionate fans wait all winter in anticipation of the first pitch of spring. The fan has a choice. He could turn his season tickets in, he could toss his jersey into the fire, give away his autographed baseballs. And yet, in spite of the disappointment inherent in sports, the adoring fan keeps coming back. Why? The game brings him joy. Joy is a choice. It can arrive unexpectedly, but it also shows up when we create joyful meaning out of our life experience. Whether good luck or bad luck, joy is really the only job you have. No matter what is going on in your outside world, no one has control of your inner world. The ability to step into the emotional posture of joy is always available. Joy is our birthright. It's a freedom we never lose. Thank you for reading that. You can get the book at thezenofsolotravel.com. That link is also available in the description section. So I hope you got out of that the idea of our minds. We never want to lose our minds. We want to be able to use our minds and engage in practice where we're seeing the situation from above and able to, with calmness, with focus, be able to move the energy up the scale simply by mirroring back someone's words. Let me make sure I heard you. That lets us to see the whole dynamic from above while we are engaged in it. It's like being the spectator and the player at the same time. That's so mind-blowing that it can only be a burst of positive energy and relief for us. So if you get this work and keep practicing it, it's going to move you into more relief, calm, and eventually states of joy and an open heart. So this gave me an open heart by helping you today. The live stream will be locked into the channel to be watched again and again and again. Love to hear from you, and it gave me a lot of joy to practice with you today. My friend, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful day.